Simsbury with Elizabeth Esty, and and Elizabeth, this is the final week. There's exactly 7 days until voters go to the polls. What are you doing in the last 7 days? Is it different in the final week?
Well, this is where you don't leave anything on the table. You know, this is a point at which we're crisscrossing the district, meeting with voters every day in lots of different places. We're in Simsbury right now. We'll be in Meriden later today, talking with folks on the phone, meeting with volunteers who are knocking on doors and making phone calls. So it's a very busy day, and it's going to be like this and busier from now straight through Election Day. So.
And you were speaking to a crowd of about nine people in there here at the Senior Center, and one of the things you talked about were the negative ads that are being run by both sides, Chris Donovan and Dan Roberti. What are you going to do about that?
Well, at this point, you know, I'm trying to get, and have gotten in some cases, the press to debunk some of the claims which are simply not true, and getting other folks in newspaper letters to the editor, articles debunking some of the claims. But again, the focus needs to be on what voters care about, and what voters care about most is who can they trust to send to Washington to address these challenging issues of how are we going to bring back jobs, how are we going to lay the foundation for economic growth, how are we going to better educate our children so they can compete, and how can we restore a thriving middle class while taking care of, as we saw here today in particular, you know, our senior citizens and those most vulnerable. And I'm committed to those core democratic values. So my focus right now, frankly, Wes, is getting that message in front of voters every day in every way possible.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to keep hammering the same point home, but you did talk about what Dan Roberti's been saying with regard to the contributions from, he said, companies that your husband, Daniel Esty, regulates, and he put out a new ad today that repeats those claims. Could you just talk a little bit about that, like you did inside?
Well, as I said,
Yeah.
inside, you know, it is not true that the companies have contributed to me. That's just flatly not true. He is rehashing some old issues that were raised last October that were fully vetted, and the truth is I've received support from over 5,200 individuals. I've gotten more support from individuals than any other candidate in this race. Of all the 7 candidates, I've raised more money from individuals, and I'm really proud of that support from across the state and across the country, from individuals who are committed to common sense problem solving, to solving things rather than fighting, to fixing what's wrong rather than ideology. And I'm proud of the support I've received in both the energy area, particularly clean energy, where I have a strong record, from the Energy Committee, where I served with distinction, but also on the environment side, which is why the co-chairs in the Environment Committee have endorsed me in the legislature. So again, we need to get back to facts and back to what's going to help the voters. I leave it to other candidates to, you know, fling mud if that's what they think will work. But frankly, I think voters, and I hear from voters, they want to know who's going to focus on their concerns and help them.
And to be clear, you had said inside that you had asked people from Northeast Utilities specifically to not support, or to...
I have turned down.
Yeah.
Turned down support from people in a number of the energy companies.
Okay.
In the state, who have called and asked and said, what can we do to help? And I've said, frankly, you can help me more by not contributing, because I really don't want this to be an issue.
And you were talking about, you just talked about how you've received more individual contributions than any of the other Democrats in the race.
Well, any of the candidates, Democrats
Right.
or Republicans.
And so, you know, it's kind of curious. We were looking over the most recent campaign finance numbers and noticed that you had also lent your own campaign $500,000. Is it fair for you to talk about the importance of reining in fundraising if you're going to be spending that much yourself?
I don't know whether I'll be spending it, but I do know this. 2 weeks ago, for the first time in our state's history, we saw a shadowy super PAC in a Democratic primary. Somebody we don't know who the donors are. We have some idea, we don't know how much money is being spent, attacking me, attacking Speaker Donovan, out of nowhere. I mean, exactly the nightmare scenario that we worried about with Citizens United. It's happening, folks, right now. It is happening. And I need to be in a position to try to respond to that in some way, to get a positive message out. to put on hip waders in addition to my combat boots. And that may take money, but I do have skin in the game. I wish we had not come to this. But obviously other candidates are deciding to use other mechanisms and exploit the huge, horrible loophole of Citizens United to allow independent, shadowy, outside, unlimited corporate money to flow into this race. I'm distressed by it, and I hear from voters they are too.
So what's on tap for the rest of today?
Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to look at my schedule because it's gotten to that point. I know I've got Meriden tonight.
Right.
We've got sort of an dine out. I think it's dine out or national night out in Meriden tonight. And I have a feeling I have a few stops on the way between here in Simsbury and down there in Meriden. But we're crisscrossing the 41 cities and towns and going to keep doing that for the next 8 days. And hopefully things will go well. I feel good about how things are going, really getting positive response from voters. We were in Waterbury yesterday at the South End Congregational Church where folks were having lunch and then left before bingo because you don't want to get in the way of bingo. But people are really engaged. They're really concerned about picking someone they feel strongly about, and I'm having great conversations with folks.